Combat Mission Shock Force, you may have a little bit of competition on your hands. Welcome everyone, Matsimus here with you today, thank you for joining me. So, as you're already well aware, I'm a massive Combat Mission fan, and as of recently I only just finished off the United States campaign for Combat Mission Shock Force. And recently I was given some information about an upcoming game that is quite similar to Combat Mission Shock Force, but is a little bit more modern. And I was really interested to see what that would be. Well guys, it is being released sometime this month, which is February 2017 if you're watching in the past, and it is called Syrian Warfare. Yes, now there's a little bit of controversy about this game, and I'm going to touch base on that a little bit later on. First of all though, let's just give a quick overview of what this game is about. This game is a tactical real-time strategy taking place during the civil war in modern Syria, i.e. today. The game skipped some of the typical RTS elements such as resource gathering and base development. Instead, the main emphasis was placed on the tactical maneuvers of air and land forces, including building assaults, use of smoke grenades, airdrops, airstrikes, etc, etc. Before each mission, you've got to choose which part of the units you want to use adequately, with only occasional support from allied units during the mission. Your units stay with you throughout the missions, gathering battle experience. The game incorporates a very realistic unit damage model, which I'm kind of uncertain about. Instead of energy bars, which I personally hate, the level of damage is reflected by the appearance of the units. Syrian Warfare does focus solely on a single player campaign, and the game is seen from a usual isometric view with full 3D models. So guys, I'm going to be very blunt about this because there's no beating around the bush. This game is based on the current Syrian conflict. Now, it's very interesting to see a lot of different views on this particular kind of game because some people are very upset about it, and some people are very, I don't really care, and then some people are very, very pro for it. There's a number of different variations of reasons behind that. I don't side with any of them. I'm not biased. I'm not going to say, well, I'm on this side and I'm on that side. Let's be honest here, guys. There's wars going on everywhere, not just Syria. There's conflicts all over the world, okay? There are games out there that are very, very, very violent, very, very depictive of warfare no matter where it is, and just because they're not specific to a current battle, doesn't mean it's any more inappropriate than this game itself. Now, that being said, I do appreciate and understand the fact that there is a current conflict going on. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of people being killed every day, every year in this conflict. I don't approve of it, I don't support it. That's my stand on it. It's a hardcore political bullshit situation. We've got all sorts of things going on. My focus is never the political agenda behind a game, because if you think that way, you should stop playing video games right now, go to college, go to university, go be a politician and sort it out that way. Because at the end of the day, this game was not made for any political standpoint. It was made for being a game. Now, if you're going to buy a game like this and be concerned and worried about your social obligations to prevent war and stop war, again, you should stop playing video games altogether. This game is not about trying to fulfill the agenda or political standpoint from one side or the other, whether it be the Syrian armed forces or the rebels that are trying to fight against the Assad regime. That being said, that's all I'm going to touch base on that. I'm not either or. I'm completely neutral. I'm here to play a video game. If the units are depicted in specific ways due to a military alliance, that's the prerogative of the game developer, not me, and I'm going to play the game for basically the control of the vehicles and the units and to just have fun. Judge me what you want for that, I don't really care, I'm here to play the game. That being said, let's talk a little bit more about the specific game. So, as I mentioned before, this is kind of like a Combat Mission Shock Force, and I would say probably cross with a Company of Heroes / Men of War series kind of game. Now, they do say, as the developer, that they're focused on realism, and that's awesome because that's exactly the kind of game I want to be playing. Let's not focus on the realism, though, of the conflict itself, and more along the realism of the units being played. Now, with a game like this where you start off with a certain amount of units and must have to gain experience or be able to survive until the next mission or campaign to roll on with it, you want to make sure that your units are as realistic and effective as possible. For instance, if you take a hit from a couple of RPGs on a tank, you're probably going to expect it to be damaged pretty badly for the most part. If it's taken out by one RPG to the frontal armor, you're going to kind of be on the side of caution. You're not too sure what it's going to take. Is it going to be a good hit? Is it going to be a bad hit? it's kind of subjective to the developers' modules and how they place them and such. Infantry is pretty simple. I mean, we're talking about artillery strikes. They should be killed very, very quickly. And it's going to be difficult with small arms and such, so I'm really intrigued and interested to see how they're going to roll with that. There is a couple of moments here, noticing if you look at the infantry now, they're kind of glitchy a little bit. Maybe it's still in the developmental phase. Kind of legs are kind of twitching out a little bit, which is fine. It's probably still being developed, but that's okay. Infantry in this kind of scenario, I mean, we're looking at a massive urban built-up area, would be key. And I'm hoping that infantry has a lot of abilities to be customized. I look at the bottom right here, and it looks like most of the language, I think, is Russian here. But it looks like there's a lot of options for different ammunition types, maybe, different features. I mean, particularly for this tank here, you can see the different kind of ammunitions it can use and all that sort of stuff, so that's really nice to see. It also looks like there's a bottom left map here that looks, I don't know, kind of red alerty in my eyes, which doesn't really depict realism to me. Unlike the Combat Mission Shock Force series, there really isn't a map you can rely on as such, other than what's given to you at the post-briefing with kind of map annotation showing where everything is prior to going out, or where they believe it to be. This is kind of more citing along the fact of it's kind of a real-time map. I'm not into that. The fog of war sort of thing makes me cringe a little bit, so, you know, not too sure about that. It looks like on the top left it's giving you a bit of a status of what's going on with your units. I'm not too sure. And I'm not too sure what the giant box is at the top there, but again, be interesting to see. Maybe it's just a progress update. As you can see here, though, graphically it looks pretty good, pretty decent. The units are obviously going to be quite primitive. We're not looking at modern-day high-tech vehicles because, sadly, in this conflict, we don't see those kind of vehicles. The one thing I will say here, though, is it looks very, very fluid. It doesn't seem like much is really sort of interfering with the gameplay. It seems to be smooth, seems to be quite easy to get along. And it looks like the terrain has quite a different feel to it. You know, you got obviously the urban environment, you got the sort of open plain that we got going on here, a little bit more cover and utilizing buildings. Looks like the buildings can be utilized quite easily. I don't know if they can determine which floor they go onto. That'd be interesting to learn. The effects, as you can see, look actually quite impressive. I didn't appreciate, especially on Combat Mission Shock Force, the inability to be able to select more than one unit without the complex key bindings and such. This looks like you can still do the whole box select, which is really nice to do, and multiple unit movement. But again, it kind of differs a little bit from the whole realism thing, in terms of this seems a little bit like, you know, Heroes and Generals, or Company of Heroes and such, which to me isn't realism. The units themselves look very, very nice. I mean, we're looking at this BMP down here. It looks like it's doing some fantastic work. But it's hard to tell what exactly they're like in terms of firepower and effectiveness on target until I can actually play the game. The explosion effect was amazing there, so that's really nice to see. And it looks like units are missing quite a lot too. If you notice there, they're firing some ATGMs. Some of them are actually skimming over the top of the vehicles, which again is bringing back the reality of war. You're not always going to hit a target first time, which is nice to see. It looks like there's also mortar teams in there, and again, the explosion effects look beautiful in the distance there. Small mortar teams being able to drop target firepower down, which is nice. But again, in terms of realism, this seems a little close for comfort for me, and you'd expect it to be a little bit more expansive, a little bit more wide out than this sort of 200-meter fighting distance we've got going on here. Clearly, you wouldn't be sending... Sorry, pardon me, still got my throat infection. You wouldn't be sending tanks charging full speed towards 6 or 7 buildings full of infantry and a BMP parked in the background. That's just my sort of take on it, which is kind of sad to see, because you'd expect the AI to have some serious potential here, being that they have been focusing on realism. Another sad part of this game, I think, is going to be the inability to play multiplayer. That may burn a few people away from this, but maybe it's also a good thing. You know, they're focusing on trying to keep the game as realistic as possible and focusing just on the key attributes to make a single-player game. Overall, guys, I think this game could be really interesting to play. I myself am going to give it a try. Politics and all that sort of stuff aside, I'm going to give it a try. Judge me as you wish. I don't really feel that me playing this game is supporting any kind of, you know, controversy or atrocities in a conflict like Syria. But I hope you guys potentially in the future are going to watch it and maybe play it along with me. It's going to be releasing sometime this month, so as soon as it gets released, I'm probably going to give it a test fire and a shot and see how it goes. So stay tuned in the future and we'll see how this goes. I'm kind of looking forward to it though, and just to give it a nice little rundown and overview of see what it really could be like in terms of its realism as an RTS game. And as you already know, I'm a massive RTS fan. But for the meantime, guys, I will be playing some more Combat Mission Shock Force in the near future, and I will be moving probably onto either the US Marine Corps, United Kingdom, or NATO campaign, and we'll be rolling with that. So in the meantime, stay tuned for those videos, and I really do appreciate you stopping by to watch today. Take care, all the best, and bye-bye.